Hey y'all, and welcome to a new series of videos on my channel where I'm going to get a little bit more in depth about some of the music theory stuff I've talked about in my other videos. I said to myself once I did 10 Why You Like This Song videos, I'd make individual videos about certain concepts. Well, I've done 11, so I'm right on time. Now would be an awesome time for you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share. But without further ado, let's dive into the topic of beat. Okay, so what's beet? Well, beet is a red, sweet vegetable. Wait, is it a vegetable or a fruit? I don't know. That's not even spelled the same way as the beat we're referring to. Okay, so I know. A beat is the route that a newspaper reporter or a police officer works. Okay, well, at least we're getting the right spelling now. But of course, we're talking about music, and we need to know what a beat is in music. Essentially, there are three things that control music: beat, pitch, and volume or dynamics. So when we talk about beat, this is a really large concept. So we're gonna just hit some of the main parts today. First, we need to know what a beat is in music, and that is a pulse that music follows, a certain rhythm, a certain speed, a certain thing that holds us all together. In some styles of music, it's really easy to hear where the beats are. Those music styles include Cajun music, polka, Norteño and Tejano, blues, country, and of course, hip-hop. Specifically Dirty South hip-hop. Shout-outs to New Orleans and Houston hip-hop, UGK for life. These type of music have simpler patterns, so it's really easy to hear the beat. Also, 3 of those styles of music feature the accordion, which is odd because most music I listen to doesn't have the accordion. But we're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about beat. Most music has a beat. There are a few exceptions, of course. John Cage's 433 is a great example of that. Also, here in Austin, there's a local radio station that plays a show called Commercial Suicide that has some music that's like that as well. You should definitely check out that station on Sundays when that show comes on. Shout out, of course, to KOOP. But at the end of the day, the beat is the thing that makes us nod our head or pat our foot or clap our hands along with music, and most of the time it stays pretty steady. We gauge the speed of our music by using a system known as beats per minute. So if you have a higher number, it's a faster song, and if you have a lower number, it's a slower song. And what we're doing is we're just counting how many times in 1 minute we hear a beat. Beats per minute is very similar to miles per hour in a car or kilometers per hour for the rest of the world that uses the good system. Each beat takes up a certain amount of time, and then it can be divided into smaller groups. It can be divided by 2 or by 3 or by 5 or 7 or whatever you want to divide it by, but the typical breakdowns are either 2 or 3. A tool we use so that we can hear the speed of these beats is a metronome. And what it does is it provides a click or a ring or a ding or a pop on every beat, and it helps you feel that speed of which the BPM is suggesting. Notes that hit with the pops or dings of a metronome are known as downbeats. And if you play a note that is halfway in between the pops or dings of a metronome, that's called an upbeat. It's really easy to think about how this works. When you think of a downbeat, that's when your foot goes down. When you think of an upbeat, that's when your foot comes up. Some music styles emphasize the downbeat, like the polka or the waltz, whereas some music styles, like reggae for instance, emphasize the upbeats of the music. But if you listen to polka or reggae, you're gonna hear both. We're just talking about when the emphasis is. Old school country music, we hear that downbeat influence. Reggae, we hear the upbeat influence. So when we're trying to play on the downbeat, we stay right with our metronome, right with the click. And when we try to play upbeats, we go in between. That's not all. There are other ways we can add importance to certain beats. And to talk about that, of course, what we're gonna need to do is first know about what a time signature is. Again, other than music that just simply doesn't have a beat, most music has a time signature. And most of the time, that time signature is 4/4. In fact, we use it so much that it also gets called common time. 4/4 has 2 numbers, a number on top and a number on bottom. For this example, we are a lot more concerned about the number on top than the number on bottom. So of course, naturally, we're gonna talk about the number on bottom first. The number on bottom in a time signature tells us what type of note gets the beat. The numbers on the bottom are typically a power of 2. 2, 4, 8, 16, are pretty much the only ones that people use. And pretty much the one that gets used the most is a 4 on bottom, followed by an 8 on bottom, followed by a 2 on bottom, and then every so often we get one with a 16 on bottom. I've said it in videos before, I'll say it in videos again. Check out Tool, specifically the song Pneuma, and you'll hear one of those time signatures with a 16 on the bottom. But we're talking about the top number, which in this case is 4. When there's a 4 on the bottom, some of the most common top numbers are 2, 3, 4, and 5. Every once in a while you'll get Pink Floyd or a band like that that'll give us a 7/4 song, but 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the most used, and 4 and 3 are the most used out of those, and 4 is the most used by far. So what does that 4 on top mean? Well, that tells us how many beats go in a group we call a measure. And measures not only organize how we read and write music, but you can feel it in the pulse of the song. 3/4 feels very different than 4/4. 3/4, of course, sounds like this. And 4/4 sounds like this. Of course, not all the time, these are just generic examples. Of course, 3/4 doesn't always have to sound like that, neither does 4/4 obviously always have to sound like that. Typically in 4/4 music, the first beat of the measure is the strongest beat, followed by the third beat, and then the second and fourth beat. So if we think about the polka / Cajun / Norteño, Tejano styles of music, you think about that hard influence being on 1. And a lot of times you might even see that's where the audience is clapping along. 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3. And that's a very natural tendency for 4/4. But then in the early 20th century, we started getting a more popularized version of backbeat, where now the emphasis is on 2 and 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, you'll hear that in rock music, pop music, hip hop music, basically all of the more modern genres of music. Let's listen to an example where we have a musician who emphasizes the backbeat and then flips it and emphasizes the front beat.
And wasting all my time, 'cause when you're standing oh so near.
You can hear the snare drum, or the kind of more clacky, whap kind of drum, starting on the second beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But then they're going to turn around and put that on 1. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you know when somebody uses the terms downbeat or upbeat or beats per minute or backbeat or just beat in general, now you know what we're talking about. However, some people say, oh, that song's got a good beat and I like to dance to it. They're not wrong in saying that either. We can also use the term beat to describe all of the percussion elements in the song being used at the same time. For instance, you might have a song where you say, listen to that drum beat, and you're talking about what's being played by either the entire drum set or even multiple drummers. Speaking of Norteño and Tejano music, beat can also be used in hip hop music with a little bit of a looser definition. Sometimes you might hear people describe the beat of a hip hop song being basically everything that's not the rapper. So that can include the synths and the bass and the whole thing. While it's not an entirely accurate term, I'm not gonna walk up to somebody and say, well, actually the beat is really only the percussion sounds and it's not the synths or the bass sounds that go with it, and push my glasses up and walk away. Because remember, when it comes to music, it's always evolving and it's always changing. And if you don't believe me, play rock and roll music to somebody from the 1700s and see what happens. They might even go, what's that weird instrument, when they hear a cymbal for the first time? That weird Turkish instrument that Mozart brought to the West that's been around for centuries, but we never had it. Now that's just part of our drum beat that we're so used to hearing. Backbeat. Backbeat is another thing that we're so used to hearing in the 20th century. It's integral to pop music. Another thing that's integral to pop music, beat-wise, is a concept known as 4 on the floor. And essentially what this is it's a steady pulse of a low drum, usually a kick drum or a bass drum, that happens on every beat in a 4/4 measure, like this. You can combine 4 on the floor with backbeat, and it sounds like this. So the point is that whether you call a beat just the one pulse of the music, or you call it all of the drums working together, or you call it everything that's not the rapper in hip hop music, you're not wrong. These are all ways that we can describe the word beat. So when you listen to music, listen for downbeats and upbeats. If you catch yourself nodding your head or patting your foot along, realize that that's where the downbeats are going to be, and in between is the upbeats. Also listen to see if maybe you hear a 4 on the floor beat. You can also listen to see if there is a backbeat in the song, and does that backbeat get flipped around to a front beat. You can also start to notice in different styles of music where these beats are used. And as we move forward and get new music styles and new music genres, see how that's affected. Maybe start listening to how the kick drums or the hi-hats work with the beat in trap music. You can listen for music where the beat is divided by 2 or it's divided by 3. All of this is just more tools you can put in your music toolbox as a listener or a musician that's just starting out, or hey, for musicians that have been going for a while, maybe there's a concept you missed. But what I really want to make sure that you do is that you use this to help you appreciate the music you're listening to and maybe make yourself a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on. If you made it this far in the video, now's a good time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you've watched my Why You Like This Song videos, hey, go ahead and pop a song suggestion down in the comments, and maybe yours will be next. But at this point, I'm going to sign off as always by saying see you in the future.